what happens after you die is changing. You could become a firework, or even have your ashes scattered in space. You could choose to come back to nature with a woodland burial. Maybe you know what you want after you die, but how about before then? Death and dying are much more complicated.
These are issues that are going to affect all of us, and at the moment, the way we're dealing with them is leading to increased suffering. People are having treatments they don't wish to have, families are not involved, conversations are had too late, people are not getting pain relief, people are dying alone. These are real urgent issues that are happening now.
When we talk about caring for people who are dying, this is more about life rather than about that one moment of actual death. We'll say wise things like we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. But this is not an easy bridge to cross.
Dying in the 21st century is a story of paradox. Some of us are overtreated in hospitals as family and community are pushed to the margins. Others are left to face death all alone.
Most discussions are centered around high-income countries. The suffering in low and low middle-income countries is simply invisible.
It's tough even for me. Her whole body is in pain.
We now can do better.
In Kerala, India, state reforms alongside engagement with families and thousands of volunteers is pioneering a model of compassionate communities, changing how people live and die.
She says, sit down. She's saying she's much better. This is Lata Kumari, whom we saw last evening. Looks so amazingly and so happily different.
It was kind of everything I hoped I would find somewhere, and it was amazing actually finding it, because they really were creating this whole new model of care, changing the way people cared, the way people died, the way people thought about death and dying.
Across the world, groups are challenging norms and rules about caring for people at the end of life, and bold new models of compassionate community action are emerging.
What inspires me is knowing it can go right. It doesn't happen by accident. But when I see it happening in living rooms, in bedrooms, in care homes, in hospitals all around the world, it's really inspiring. Because although it doesn't take away the sadness and the loss that is so significant, it does take away the stress, the anxiety, the fear that so often just compounds these times.
Allowing the community to come in means training them, answering all their questions, and sometimes being questioned. It means giving up some of my power as a doctor, engage them as partners.
The Lancet Commission on the Value of Death convened experts in health and social care, philosophy, economics, and theology, working with community activists to set out the principles of a realistic utopia, a new vision of how death and dying should be.
What we're talking about in the Commission is whole systems change. It interfaces with healthcare systems, with the law, with policy, with education. All of those, death and dying, are social issues. And at the moment, we're trying to solve them with a medical lens. And that's what needs to change.
We need to talk about what we want for ourselves when we die, and what choices we want for society.
If we want vaccination done across the country, we have a vaccination drive. Maybe we need to have conversation drives in every country. If we talk about this openly, confront the issue, we will be able to avoid a lot of needless suffering, needless treatment. I have prepared my advance directive. I have indicated that in the context of an incurable illness, I should not be subjected to inappropriate life-prolonging treatment, partly because that will only be suffering for me, partly because I will be isolated and separate from my family, but also because out of loyalty to me, my family may destroy themselves with that needless treatment. That's a precious time when I should have been receiving a kiss on my cheek from my grandchild. It can be a time of healing also.
We can learn lessons about death from many different cultures, and from the innovators who are showing us new possibilities for the future of death and dying.
You only get one chance to do this. I heard a lot of people say, I wish I knew what they would have wanted. The conversation ahead of time is actually something you can give to those around you, and the gift that they can give back to you. Death it's not just a physiological event, an endpoint, it's so much more than that.
The realistic utopia starts with each of us facing this, bringing life back to death. It's about leaving a legacy, talking about those we miss, and finding a way through all the sadness to show up for those whose time is short.
Let me clarify that we were not really talking only about death. We were talking about life. What holds meaning in your life for you?